This podcast is brought to you by learnmycraft.com. Now, we've all experienced the frustration of not having enough time to practice your art. So whether you're a total beginner or an experienced artist, Learn My Craft has got you covered. With easy-to-follow tutorials using coloured pencils and pan pastels, you can level up your animal art skills today in as little as 45 minutes. Make practice fun and easy again at learnmycraft.com. Welcome to the Animal Art Podcast. On today's show, I'm joined by Beck Morris. Beck is a full-time colour pencil and graphite artist from Buckinghamshire in the UK, and as a lifelong animal lover, she has always featured animals in her artwork, in particular horses, where she uses realism to show the soul and personality of her subjects. In this episode, we talk about the must-have tools for beginners, which art competitions we've entered, our most challenging pet portrait commission so far, and we dive into the best way to sign your artwork. Today's drawing challenge is an exercise 43 from the practice journal Pet Portrait Edition, which is a patch of white terrier fur, and we both tackled it in colour pencil. This was a great conversation with lots of helpful tips along the way. So this is all coming up on the show today, so get your materials ready if you're drawing along, hit follow and subscribe, and let's go.
There we go. I think it's working.
Yay! Finally!
Honestly, you know more than me. I can't even remember the last time I went live on Instagram.
Yeah, I've only been doing it this month, so I'm so glad it works. Hi, Beck.
Hi, Sema. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very good, thanks. Bit warm.
Good.
But...
Yes, thank goodness it's warm. It's supposed to be warm. It is summer.
Yeah, true.
It's been so miserable lately.
I thought that we were going to have a bit of a wet summer this year, but I think it's going to be a bit of a heat wave the next few days.
Oh, good. We better get out in the sun and enjoy it then while it lasts.
Yeah, definitely.
So you chose number 43 for us today.
Yes.
How come?
Why not?
You've been doing lots of white fur lately, haven't you?
Yeah, I absolutely love drawing white fur, but I feel like I never get enough curlier breeds, although I do have a lot coming up, but in the past I never really got any, so I thought, well, why not?
Mm-hmm. Oh, fantastic, exactly. Do you want to tell me a bit about yourself and how you started as an animal portrait artist?
Well, my accent's a little bit deceiving, but based in the UK, a lot of people think I'm based somewhere else. But I just focused on animal portraiture using pencils. So it's just graphite and colored pencil. A lot of the time I'm doing dogs, which some people may not know. I also do wildlife. But yeah, I guess it was middle of lockdown. Stuck at home, bored, and I thought, well, people are posting their art. I sort of want to be involved in something again, you know? And I mean, I'm not encouraging anyone to scroll to the bottom of my feed, but I was just drawing silly, I think, pony cartoons or something like that in the beginning.
Sweet. We'll have to scroll to the bottom of your feed now.
Yes. Honestly, when I look back now, I'm like, what was I doing? But yeah. I thought, well, I've got all this extra time. Let me get back into my realism work again. And then, yeah, I think I was live on TikTok drawing a red panda. And my first client, whose favorite animal happened to be said animal, asked if I could draw their dog, and rest is history, really.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So, yeah, I suppose working hard at it, I've now been able to become full-time. And yeah, I suppose just being thankful for the fact that I can do this as a full-time job.
Yes, that's so great. What drew you specifically to colour pencil itself?
Well, I'd always been drawing in graphite because it's sort of an easy medium you can get your hands on. Just any piece of paper, an HB pencil, and honestly, you can draw whatever you like. But I think it was only, I didn't think of it as a medium, but it was only when I started seeing other artists on social media and they were using colored pencil, and I was like, wait, what? Like it shouldn't have been that sort of reaction, but for some odd reason, I actually never thought of using it. So yeah, I thought, let me try, see what happens, and then yeah, ended up falling in love with it.
Yes, that's true. That's exactly how I came across it too. I saw artists on Instagram using color pencil, and I just had no idea you could get that kind of depth and detail and life from a colored
Yeah.
pencil. So I guess because, growing up you always use like bad quality color pencils, don't you?
Exactly.
You're not exactly using the best types. You're not getting the full benefit of the medium.
Yeah.
So you don't get to explore it until you really try it.
Yeah, honestly, there's so many like innovative artists out there who are trying new things and using mediums that we may not have taken seriously, I suppose, in our heads. But it's a colored pencil, surprisingly enough, was one that baffled me in the beginning. But yeah, and then obviously you're using the pastel mat, which I've seen a lot of artists like yourself as well, using it as a base as well.
Yes, so I'm using pan pastels, and then today I'm using pastel matte for the first time doing white hair on it. So yesterday was the first time I've ever used pastel matte itself, because I normally use quite smooth paper.
Yes.
And I see a lot of artists using pastel matte and getting quite beautiful results. So I thought, why not try it in this book? That's what this book is for.
Yeah.
Do a little section.
Yeah, exactly that.
And that's what I'm going with. Have you tried using this book at all yet?
No, do you know, I haven't actually had the chance, but I was telling my partner when I was looking through it the other day, I was like, this is so great to be able to just, like, if I want to experiment with different mediums, different papers, and maybe even different techniques, I can just have like a fiddle in here.
Yeah.
And
no pressure.
Yeah, and also just as a hobby as well, because this is our full-time job now, but we want to enjoy it too.
Yeah. You sort of sometimes need to take a step back and sort of make it slightly a hobby again. So you have that no pressure, inspirational, creative moment where you can just get stuck in and enjoy what you're doing rather than thinking, oh no, this has to be perfect because it's for a paying client, you know?
Exactly. So I feel like this very much is like not only just for people to learn how to draw, but just also a nice sort of mindless release, because looking up reference images is also another stress in itself.
Yes, it is. It really is.
So sometimes you just want to draw something for yourself, but you end up looking at thousands of reference photos and narrowing it down to maybe 20 by the end of the week.
Well, no,
I think this is a great great idea. Well done on that.
Oh, thank you. I'm so pleased you like it, because I literally just created it for myself to start with. And I thought, well, why don't I put it on Amazon and then other artists can enjoy it too? Because if I like it, surely someone else would like it.
Exactly.
And so many other people have really enjoyed it. So I'm just so pleased I could create something, because normally I just write a lot of business content and business books and helping artists start their businesses.
Yeah.
So this is the first time I've really gone into like the art creation side of things.
Yeah, honestly, I think it's so brilliant. And I was talking to my partner the other night, obviously, because whenever I chat to anyone in the art world, he's got to know, like, oh, who is this person? Like, should I follow them? And things like that. And I was describing herself. I'm like, she's actually quite a really accomplished artist. Like, she's doing the pet portrait thing. She's helping people turn this from like a hobby into a career. And I'm like, now she's doing the teaching thing. And she's a mum. Like, I'm like, I don't know how she does it, because I get tired days, really tired days.
Yeah, well,
but
that's just how it is sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. But no, you're doing remarkable things. So
thank you so much.
Describing you to him, and then obviously coming out with this as well. And I noticed you had a wildlife one as well.
Yes, so that's recently launched, the wildlife version of this. So the same again, 100 pictures, but they're all British wildlife animals and insects and plants and just everything, birds, butterflies, anything that you can imagine to do with the British wildlife. So I'm very excited to actually try that one because I'm not a wildlife drawer myself.
Oh, yes.
So I'd like to try it and get stuck in.
Yes, definitely.
So what kind of wildlife do you normally draw?
I think it's whatever tickles my fancy at the time, but I'm very drawn to African wildlife. So
okay,
the other twang in my accent is South African. So for me, South African wildlife it's always been a biggest inspiration. Funny enough, even though I draw a lot of dogs, I would say, yeah, the pet world is horses, and yeah, the wildlife world it's anything African wildlife related, really.
Wonderful. I do actually have a African wildlife version coming out soon as well.
Well, I'll be behind that's for sure.
Yeah, I just need to finish it.
No, I think it's definitely, although we have like a general spectrum of what we like to draw, there's always like one thing deeper inside of that will get us out of our like art block and things like that.
Yes, definitely.
So for me, I mean, you know, when you come out with the African wildlife, that'll be so great to have on days when I just don't want to do work things, or I need that extra inspiration, just fiddle around with a whole different lot.
Yes, try out a new technique or a new medium or even new paper that you're not sure about, because we always go to our comfort mediums, don't we, when we're doing commissions to make sure it comes out right.
Yes, exactly. I'm definitely going to be, because I'm going to be diving back into toned paper, so I'm definitely going to cut up a few squares for this one as well, because that'll be nice. So
what paper are you using today?
Pardon?
What paper are you using today?
So I'm using the Archer's hot press, which obviously against this paper is proving quite yellow, but yeah, it's sort of an off-white watercolor paper. So this is just the 300 GSM, and then sometimes I use the 640.
Right. And is that the paper you normally use for your commissions?
Yes. So this would be the one I pretty much use for everything. I'm so loyal to this paper. I used to use, obviously when I first started out just drawing for myself, it was the Faber-Castell brands.
Right,
and then De La Rani, actually. My first commission was on De La Rani.
Yes, same here, actually.
That was I felt they had really nice paper. I don't feel the best, but I haven't tried all of them. But yeah, to start out, they're really, really great. Yeah,
fantastic.
paper, it's something we'll forever be trying out new things.
And how are you drawing this out? Are you using graphite or?
So I think I take a lot of my techniques from my graphite knowledge. So I always map everything out in sort of like a medium or light grey, and then build up everything on top of that.
Yeah.
So funny enough, when drawing white fur, I pretty much just only use greys. I don't actually use the white pencil, but I think my brain hasn't wrapped around exactly how I would want to use that. Because for me, it just comes out, I don't know, it just looks a bit clear to me. So obviously I use more of the tinted greys, like a silver grey, which is more blue, or cream, which is more yellow toned, and work with those.
Yeah. Do you like the Faber-Castell polychromos then for that? Because they've got a beautiful grey range.
Yes. So Faber, I think all round, Faber-Castell is just a brilliant, brilliant brand. So I use the Faber-Castell polychromos, and then I also branch out into the Caran d'Ache Pablos and Luminance.
Yes.
Depending on what I'm drawing. But yeah, I've been wanting to try out the Faber-Castell pit pastels. That's what it is.
Oh, have you? Yes, I haven't tried those yet.
Yeah, so I've got some pastel mat, because I use some color pencils on the pastel mat, which, I don't know, maybe it's the scratchy paper that I don't enjoy, but I feel like it'll be less scratchier with pastel.
Oh, it's definitely very textured, isn't it? Because that's what I'm using right now with my Faber-Castell Polychromo. And you can
Yeah.
just really feel the vibration through your pencil as you're trying to
Yeah.
color on top. It's very weird feeling.
Yeah. And I would imagine it's also like it probably wears down the pencil a lot quicker, although I suppose that's really just depends on pressure no matter what paper.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, I've been seeing some beautifully vibrant uh pencil work done with color pencil on pastel mat. So
Mm.
yeah, it's very intrigued to see how this turns out for you as well, because I've been
Yes, me
itching
too.
towards trying it.
Yeah, well, I yesterday I drew the blue cat eye, and it was a black cat.
Yeah.
And I did that on pastel matte paper. And that was really good, actually. I was very impressed with how you can layer light on top of dark with pastel matte, which you can sort of slightly do that on normal paper, but it was
Mm.
very easy on the pastel matte, like really easy. It almost like changes how pencils work, which
Oh
is so
wow.
weird. Like I can't quite wrap my head around how it's possible on pastel map, but not on normal paper. So I'll have to
Yeah.
try it again soon.
Oh, you see, this is just making me want to go try it again now.
Well, yeah, you definitely should.
No, definitely. Because I was also thinking about in terms of like sometimes you do just wish pencils would just layer over the top with the lighter
Mm,
ones in a different way than they currently do. So I
mm.
think
Like
that would,
painting.
yeah,
I always
like with
think, oh, this would
painting.
be easier if I knew how to like mix that color and oil paint, and then I could just paint.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
I think the only thing, funny enough, obviously everyone, well, not everyone, but most people would assume that if you're good at drawing, you're also good at painting. And oh, I've wanted to dive back into painting, but
Hmm.
my hand does not translate. It just looks
It-
absolutely awful. So
What
sometimes I
kind of
do just want
paint?
to find that.
What kind of painting? Like acrylic or oil or watercolor?
Um, Oil,
Hmm.
actually, yeah. I find oil paints quite beautiful. I think
Mm-hmm.
maybe I don't understand the proper techniques to use for acrylic, because for me it just dries too quick. But obviously
Yeah.
there's ways of getting it not to dry so quick. It's a weird one.
It definitely is. But yeah, I'm an oil painter as well. I used to do a lot of oil painting before I found color pencil. And then I used color pencil so long I forgot how to even use the oil paint. So
Yeah.
yeah, it'll be nice to get back into that again at some point too.
Yeah,
But I guess you could try it on this, couldn't you? Because you can buy those tiny mini canvases or even canvas paper, can't you? And then you can just stick it in this book.
exactly. So it's like the possibilities are endless really with this one. It
Yeah,
really
I'm
does
very
sort of encourage just trying everything. Why not?
exactly. I'm so excited to see it when it's finished. I think it's going to be so fulfilling to flick through all the pages of this book. You know, when people finish a sketchbook and every
Yes.
page is filled, and it's just such a satisfying feeling.
That was actually exactly what I was thinking the other day. I'm like, I'm probably just going to clear through this book just so I can open it up and it just has every square complete.
Yeah, yeah. The
I think
perfectionist in you.
I'm very sort of addicted to those satisfying
Yeah.
things.
No, me too. So what's your go-to tools? Like, do you use the slice tool and I don't know, dusting brushes, erasers? What's your sort of favorite one do you recommend for beginners and things?
Um, oh, I suppose it depends on technique. I know a lot of people use the slice tool. I mostly use it for whiskers and things at the end. But
Hmm.
otherwise, I suppose I just fuss over it so that it gives
Fuss
me those
over
little bits.
it. Yeah.
I'm very much a fusser. I'll finish a section and then come back to it later and add those like little bits that would probably be easier if I just use the slice tool.
Hmm.
But I always I'm scared of the commitment that slice tools bring sometimes. I just sort of go through it just with pencil. But yeah, I suppose like beginner wise, it's like the Faber-Castell range. It's one of those that it could literally branch out with any other pencil. It just works so well with, I think, across the board with other pencils. And then otherwise, yeah, I'll probably say just the pencils. I really just rely mostly on the pencils.
Okay, that's very interesting.
Oh, and probably hand sharpeners as well. Like I have an electric one and a manual crank sharpener.
Oh yeah. Is it a Derwent one?
Pardon?
Is it the Derwent one?
No, where is this? It's one of these boxes. It's a swordfish. There we go. Swordfish icon. Which one of my art friends got me into purchasing. But I use these little ones, the Coombe Long Point. It's just tiny little sharpener.
That's sweet.
And yeah, they just, I don't know, it's the feeling of hand sharpening it, I guess. But I'm very much a work on feeling type person.
Okay. Very cool.
But yeah, it's, I don't know. I suppose there's a lot more tools if I could think of. I think with graphite, I would say, oh, this is great to work with, and that's great to work with. But with colored pencil, I tend to use like bare minimum.
Right.
It's really just the pencils, sharpener, and then kneadable eraser. At the end,
of course.
Up the portrait.
Yes. Okay.
It's absolutely amazing for that. And then obviously, if you do like an outline sketch in graphite, it's great for just removing that off the top without actually like damaging the paper, maybe with a regular eraser.
Yes. I've never actually used a kneadable eraser. Like I have one, but I've never really found it necessary. I'm always I go to this if I need an eraser. I love it so much. The Derwent electric USB chargeable eraser.
Well, look at that. They've got it figured out. I think the most annoying thing is having to buy little batteries, isn't it?
Yeah, so you get the USB chargeable one. You'll never have to buy batteries again, and you'll get perfect, like, refined little hairs and whiskers and all that kind of thing, because it is so powerful. It goes through so many layers of pencil.
I might actually look into that in terms of whiskers.
It will be perfect for that.
It's probably the most annoying part of drawing any animals, just the whiskers at the end.
I think it's the most daunting part because you've got to get that right angle and then like flick it in that way that's like supernatural, and like it's just so daunting. Like, oh my God, if it's wrong, you can't erase it because it's like across your entire drawing.
Yeah, exactly. It is. Oh no, I think that's probably one of the only things that, because sometimes I'll draw on a live on TikTok, but when it comes to doing the whiskers, but I cannot do that on camera. The pressure is too great in terms of us possibly ruining that in front of the client or something.
Oh no, that would be terrible. Do you do many like exhibitions and like competitions and things?
I was going to enter some competitions this year, but I must admit I chickened out. Funny enough, although I know the value of my work and things like that, I don't know. I just don't think it's there yet in terms of competition. So I'm hopefully going to throw myself into the deep end next year because I've got my eye on a few.
Which ones?
I'll probably have more to update on that for next year.
Which ones do you have your eye on?
Well, I was thinking obviously the David Shepherd. Absolutely have to.
Yeah.
And then there's a few local ones that we have here, like in Buckinghamshire. They're not big important ones, but I figured in my area that would be great. They have like mini art competitions, and it's mostly just to raise money for different charities and certain schools. So just coming out small and seeing how it goes. But right now the David Shepherd is what I've got my eye on, I suppose, in a more public light.
Yes.
And then sort of just going from there. Like the sketch for survival as well is what I've been wanting to enter into. And then there's one going on social media, what are they called? Art and Colour 365.
Is that by light space time or not? Maybe it's a different one.
No, it's a different one. They've got this magazine now, Art and Colour 365,
right.
And they've been doing. I think they have a competition almost every couple of months,
right,
in different sectors. So for artists who use pencil mediums, for artists who paint, and then for artists who do animals versus artists who do human portraiture. So I thought that would be quite nice as well to sort of break me out, I guess, in a way.
Yes, exactly. Just start off small.
Yeah, yes, exactly. But otherwise, I'm probably one of those people that are very happy to, sit at home, chit chat to my clients, make them happy and just sit with that. Although I do know maybe competitions would also help a lot.
I guess it
just a whole lot.
Depends on what you want to do.
Yeah. So it's a thinking about process, but maybe 2025, I think that might be my year.
That sounds good. I'm excited to see what you come up with.
Thank you. Yeah. So, getting my art out there, I suppose.
Yeah.
So I suppose a lot of us rely on social media now these days. It's a lot easier to get art out there.
Yes, so definitely. It's never been easier to show the world what you're working on.
Yeah, exactly. It's, I suppose, as long as we can keep up with our multiple algorithms, it's it turns out to be quite fun. Yes.
No, you have to enjoy it, otherwise it just turns into a chore, doesn't it?
Yes, because I suppose you never want to really wake up and, I mean, even though we all get our days when we don't feel like drawing, you don't want to wake up hating your job.
Yeah.
Because, well, I suppose we could all go work for someone and hate our job in another way.
Exactly.
So, yeah, very, very fortunate to be doing what we're doing. But I suppose when it boils down to it, is, you could be the most remarkable artist ever, but if someone doesn't relate to a specific style per se, I think it's all about style. It's not about what others would perceive as a level of skill. Because
yes,
I suppose I could draw something a lot simpler, less detail, more maybe block colors, but if it was in a style that someone related to, that's what they're going to go for. So I feel like this is why it's so great, like someone like yourself who like actively is helping people do what we do. It's such a great thing, because honestly the market is endless when it comes to art.
Yeah, definitely.
So, you're doing a really great job with that, to be honest.
Oh, thank you so much. That's so kind of you. What's been your most challenging pet portrait commission so far?
Oh, I did a pet lizard last year, which,
wow.
Yeah, I've always said, like, oh, do I accept them? Depends on the reference. And she actually really delivered on like the perfect reference. So I thought, well, you know what? Let me just go for it, see what happens. But it was definitely a lot more work than fur. I think I very quickly realized that it's not that I would never draw one again, but I wouldn't be so quick to maybe book like 5 in like the following month. I'd probably spread them out by like 6 months or something.
Yeah. A lot of brain power, that.
Yes. I think it was just trying to figure out how to, obviously, the most effective way to get the color on there, but also to get, because I'm such a fuss over little details, I'm like, well, at which stage do I then start doing those separations between each scale? And it just
Oh
turned into a
man.
whole thing.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
And what about yourself?
Um, mine would probably have to be, it was a portrait of a man and his two dogs, but
Oh.
I had to create the reference.
Oh.
So I was given the man and the two dogs, and I had to make the reference of him holding these two dogs. So I think things like hands
Oh,
and
oh my
proportion
goodness.
and lighting were the factors of trying to create this reference, let alone even drawing it. People are always harder to draw than pets, I think, because it's
Yeah.
very subtle shadows, subtle textures, subtle shapes, and like it's wrong when it's wrong, but it's so hard to
Yeah.
get it right.
Yeah, honestly, that's especially in terms of trying to get like pose positionings
Yes,
that just fit together rather than look photoshopped.
yes. But it did work out really well. I was so pleased with it. It's one of my favorite drawings now. And my client was really happy as well. So
Good.
I do love drawing people. I used to draw people all the time before I became a pet portrait artist, to be honest. I just
Yes, I've seen a lot of your like on your page, like I've seen a
yeah.
lot of like people portraits rather
Mm,
than yeah, you sort of I think that's actually a great thing to be able to draw both animals and people together
mm,
because I think
mm,
a big request is can you draw my kids with our fur kids? And
yeah.
for some reason, just drawing people is just it's draining for me. It's just not something I'm interested in.
No, have you not tried it yet then?
Um, I think it was something I used to do in high school, and I sort of fell out of love with human
Yeah.
portraiture. But yeah, the fact that you do both, that's like again, that's really great that you do both as well.
My
You like the
problem
whole
is I
package,
don't say
Sema.
no. Oh, thank you.
You know, it's pretty much the whole package.
Oh, you. My problem is I just don't say no. So
Oh yeah.
if a client comes to me with like some crazy idea or like something I've never done before, I'll be like, well, yeah, of course I'm going to try that.
I remember a portrait. It was like early days.
Uh-huh.
I think I just started. I was saying yes to everyone because, I didn't have bookings. Like, yes, sure, I'll draw whatever you want.
Yeah.
And some of the references I accepted, honestly,
Mm,
if they came again to me now, I would say, please, can you look further because
mm,
I need more photos.
yeah.
It's a tricky thing, but
It's very tricky.
I do always try. I'll sit there with because I have Procreate, and I'll sit there and figure out a way. I'm like, I'm gonna make this work because saying no is not something I want to do.
Yeah. I think I've only said no once, and it's because it was a black cat and it was incredibly blurry and it had died like 20 years ago, and it
Oh
was the
yeah.
only picture she had of it. And I was like, I'm sorry, I can't see anything. You could just see like a bit of reflective eyes, basically. It
The
just
void. Yeah.
yeah, it wasn't, you couldn't even see an outline. Like normally if I had things like that, they'd normally send like, a few others and I would try and make it work
Yeah.
because I try and like Photoshop them or add references together or layer things on top and then try and create my own. I find that's a really good way of creating a good reference out of a terrible one.
Yeah.
Because if you ask, okay, so what is the cat's eye color? What's the cat's actual fur color? And just ask them these specific questions because they're sending you pictures based on the pictures that they love. They're not thinking about from an artist's perspective of how you're going to draw from it. So you as the artist need to understand that and then ask them the relevant questions that you need in order to get the reference picture that you need to draw from.
Exactly.
So I normally ask things like, or what's the pet's character like? Does this represent their character? Like, how does this picture make you feel? And then, does this picture properly show their fur color? And if it doesn't, I normally say, oh, can I have a picture of it in the sunlight, or things like that. And then you can just sort of like mish and mash them together.
Yeah. It makes it so much easier when you can sort of get like, okay, even though this photo is not the greatest, what about this photo do you like? Because if it's about the certain smile or the way that you can see certain markings on their face or in their eyes, then I will take that and try. I'll always ask for more than one photo. I need a couple so I can sort of piece it together. But yeah, I suppose depending, if they send a couple of photos, let me know which one's their favorite. And I mean, sometimes I want to draw the other option that they've given me, but it's for them at the end of the day. Yeah, sometimes I get really sometimes I get really sad, like, oh, I really wish they'd picked this one instead of but I suppose it's most people don't think about how we would translate onto paper.
Well, because they're not the artist, that's why they're commissioning you, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So I always try to offer that like word of advice. Well, these 3, for example, would work best, or something like that. Because I think that was one thing I sort of struggled with in the beginning, is that, they would tell me what photo they wanted, and I would be almost too afraid to tell them that actually, no, that wouldn't work.
Yeah.
So I think that was something I also had to learn, like, in the beginning, is the fact that you're not saying no because you're horrible. You're saying no because you want the best for them.
Yes, exactly. It's really important, isn't it? Just to have that proper communication as artist and client.
Yes, exactly. It's always awkward, but it's much needed.
Yeah, it's always less awkward than you think, though. I think in life, everything sort of feels awkward if you've never said it before or done it before. But as soon as you ask them, like even if to say, you've got a deadline coming up, but you're not able to make it, if you just tell your client rather than trying to hide it, they're normally fine. If it's not specifically for like a birthday and you've just said, it'll be done by May, but then you're not able to get it done by May, and then you tell them, I'm really sorry, I haven't been able to meet this deadline, but I'll get it done for you for this. They're normally like, oh, okay, that's fine. Most of the time they've even forgotten they've commissioned you.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's so important to have that open, honest communication with clients.
Yeah. So that like, I think it's, I always look back on sort of like 2021 when I was starting out and thinking, like, there's a lot of stuff that even though they were happy with it in the end, I feel like there's, they're coming to you as the professional. You need to be the professional. It's not a horrible situation where you're saying like, no, that photo is awful, or no, we're not doing it like this. It's like for you, because this is what you want from your pet. This is how would best work for it. And yeah, the deadline thing, I've heard horror stories just from comments, really, where they say,
really?
oh, my client was this, and because people don't tell their clients what are going on. Like I had roof, like unexpected, I had to have the roof fixed on the house, so I couldn't work in like my art space. So I very quickly just told my clients, like, look, I can only start on it next week. We've got roof thingies being done this week, and they're very understanding. And that's all I needed to do. But sometimes you see horror stories on social medias and comments or DMs or however they choose to get the information to you about, clients not understanding because I have this and this going on. And sometimes it's like, well, did you tell them? Because I'm sure they wouldn't mind.
Yeah. That's the thing. I think a lot of people, if they do get into pet portrait commissions, because it's quite easy to get into doing it on a regular basis, they still don't think that they're running a business, but they are. And when you're running a business, you've got to have that separation and that professionalism. And you've got to think, okay, so this person is paying me. I've got to deliver on what has been promised. And if there are any changes, you've got to keep them in the loop to keep up that professional service. And if you don't think like that, and if you don't think that you're running a business, then you might as well just not do it, because it's just gonna be harder for you to grow it and to get better and to go full time and that kind of thing if you're not thinking of this business from day one. Like, as soon as you do your first transaction, that is the start.
Yes, exactly. No, exactly that. Like, as much as it's like a hobby turned I suppose income, it's still a business at the end of the day, and it can't be not like too soft, but you have got to be very business and direct, unfortunately. You can still do it in a nice way.
I think people are expecting you to, because they don't know how long you've been in business. They don't know your experience necessarily. They're just thinking that you are a professional artist and they want to pay you. So if you don't treat it the same way that they think, then it's just going to be complicated.
Yeah, honestly, it's like everything you're saying is exact truth. And I'm like, I'm like, you have to, your what you just said there, I'm like, you have to post that, because people don't feel that. I think this is why I couldn't do what you do it absolutely brilliantly, but I couldn't do what you do in terms of like trying to help people become like art as like your book, art as a career, rather than just a hobby, because sometimes there's truths that need to be said. Like, you can't think A, that this is just going to be drawing all day. It's not. B, that it's not going to be, you're not going to have some nights where you're going to have to just, crack in a few hours, or some weekends where you're going to have to work that whole weekend, or as you just said now, in terms of this is a business, treated as such. I feel that this is all stuff that yes, you and I know too well, but a lot of people don't really think about in terms of art as a business. And I feel like not enough of that sort of content is out there. But but we never know how people are going to comment on those. So like, I don't know. I suppose I don't really have the patience to argue with people about, I don't know, proving my prices or information I've given them, if it's like how correct it is or how factual it is. It's just like, I'm giving you advice, take it or leave it.
Have you had issues in the past with having to defend your price to clients then?
No, not to clients, surprisingly. I am so lucky. My clients are so good to me, because honestly, they literally go to the ends of the earth for me, I feel. But it's obviously just, you post something on social media and the comments start coming in, or they've gone to look at your website and they add a comment saying, oh, it's too expensive, it's too this, it's too that. And I always think, well, I'm not telling you to buy it. I got out of that whole thinking that I should defend my prices. It's one of those that I could work. I mean, I could take 100 hours to do what I've just drawn here, and charge, I don't know, £5 for it, but someone will think it's too much, and they won't know the work that's gone in behind it. So I post a lot about like the work that goes in behind it. And I feel that if people cannot appreciate that this is hard work, it's like, I'm not here to teach you how to value my time. So yeah, I'm not going to lie, there was a stage in the beginning, like obviously I was very defensive, saying, well, this took me this many hours and materials are expensive and all of that. But I feel that regardless of the time and materials I'm using, every single artist has a different set of times and materials, and what could take someone a day to create with like, reasonable materials could be worth to them way more than what, for example, I'm charging. But that is how they feel it translates.
Yes, so it's,
because of all those differences, like I never feel the need to sort of explain myself. And then, yeah, obviously, as my clients know, it's like I'll send them photo updates of literally every little section that I'm getting done. So they can see how it's coming along. They can see that, okay, well, since yesterday, she's only done that amount. And, you know, they can sort of see some of the other layers starting to build up. So they're fully aware that they're getting every penny's worth, really. Yeah. So I think, like, in terms of people asking why, if they happen to email me or as a potential client, yes, then I would go into the nitty gritty of, well, you know, postage, packaging, materials, time, and level of experience. But otherwise, for social media purposes, like I think that's one mistake I see a lot of the time. A lot of people defend themselves in the comments, and I'm like, there's always going to be people like that. Especially trolls, because we love them. They do sometimes bring up great topics of conversations to maybe respond to, but if it's making you doubt your value or feeling like you have to be defensive about your work, I just delete the comment. Because I think that's...
How's your drawing going? I can't see it. How's your drawing going? I can't see it.
Oh, sorry. Here we go. I pretty much just build up all the shadows and colors, and then I do this like blend over the top, which eventually makes everything come together.
Oh, I see. And you're just using Faber-Castell polychromos, are you?
And a few Pablos. I like these sort of like tinted, very light, like pink, blues, yellows.
Ooh,
so I use sort of that to like sort of tone it up a bit, and then when I go over with the final top layers, that's when I go in with the dark shadows within the shadows and like the darker versus lighter areas.
Where have you been using the blue?
So funny enough, so starting this one, obviously I was mapping out with the warm grey 3, and then I used this sort of silver grey, which is like a very light blue, I suppose.
Yes, okay.
That's where I used to then start the base, obviously in the highlighted areas, which are like almost like a snow white when you look at the reference. So then I use that to start building that up, and then from these shadows, that's when I go in with the lighter pink to add those like peachier, warmer tones.
Right. Okay.
And yeah, eventually just build it up backwards that way.
Oh, it's very interesting to see how different artists build up their layers. Yeah, because I'm using silver grey as well, and then I've been using... It's funny how we start to use the same colours even though we're not even like talking about it.
Yeah.
Like this pinky, what's this called? It's called cinnamon.
But... There we go. You see, I've got cinnamon on the side here ready to go.
Oh, there you go.
The final steps.
Yeah, isn't that funny? We're still picking up the same colours.
Yeah.
Even though we're not even talking about it. That's just hilarious.
Yeah, this is why like I'll always say there's no right or wrong way with like creating art. I'm like, if it does the same thing that you want at the end, how you do it. It's I mean, if I wanted, I could have just put grey down and just used an eraser to carve everything out, I guess.
Oh, that sounds like a fun technique to try.
So I did sort of think about that for a second. I'm like, nah. The purpose of this exercise is to encourage me to freehand, because I've become very reliant on trace work, because it's just quicker and easier, especially for like pet portraits. Just quickly do a trace and work from that.
Exactly, yeah, that's what I've been doing too. So I've really been enjoying just freehanding all of these exercises.
Yeah, so it's sort of encouraged me to actually use my eyes.
Use your eyes.
Although,
how do you... I was going to ask, how do you normally sign your work at the end?
Oh, with a shaky hand, and I think my signature is if my signature probably changes each year, I should really stop that. But I found one that really works for me, and I'm like, cool. it's like minimal sort of big hand movements and things like that, so I can't possibly mess it up. But I've been thinking about getting what is it, like an embosser?
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm like, oh, that would look cute if it was like embossed in the corner of the page or something. But
yeah, did you see my video on how I emboss prints like that?
Yeah. So I was like, oh, little that would look so cute. But like, obviously, like I now do little mini ones, which are like a 6x6. I'm like, well, that's not going to work. So
yeah, it'll be taking up the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, thank you for paying me. Here's an embossed piece of paper. But yeah, I don't know, signatures. I think, as I said, I finally found one that works and I'll stick to it. But it's very much, I do it in a pencil. What do I use? I use my mechanical pencil. So I use a dark lead. Yeah, like a dark lead in that, and then obviously when I set it with fixative, then I'll spray over where my signature is. But again, it's the commitment of ink that really gets me. So I'm like, oh, one day I'll sign with a pen, and then on the certificate it's obviously signed in ink.
I remember reading once, you're technically supposed to sign in the same medium you did it in.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I remember reading that once on like an article or something. So that's why I always sign mine in a black coloured pencil.
Oh, I should try that. Because I suppose it's like the, without having the stressful commitment of ink. Yeah, I wouldn't mind signing it in coloured pencil.
And that's why I only emboss the prints. I don't emboss the actual artwork. Because again, because of reading that thing about how the correct way of signing artwork would be to sign in the medium that you use to create the artwork. But I don't know how like true that is, but it makes sort of sense in terms of how it would look. It would look nicer because so I know that some people use like that white pen to go over their paintings, but because they've got like quite a big colourful paintings, a pen is easier to write in than some paint. But so I don't know how like frowned upon that would be, but it does look better when it comes to certain mediums.
You see, as you're saying it, it's like suddenly the pennies dropped with myself, and I'm like, actually, that makes so much sense. It's like fun, when we were talking about realizing you could use colored pencil, it's that penny drops. But
lots of pennies dropping today.
But it's signatures are honestly, it's the whiskers and signatures. I think that's probably my favorite of the whole job.
At least they're at the end.
Yeah,
they're the finishing parts, aren't they?
Yeah, it's just this long, I suppose, a long build up. You get to forget about it while you're drawing.
Yeah. I do find sometimes I forget to even sign my work because like I've scanned it in and everything. It's like, oh no, I haven't signed it, so I got to scan it in again.
That's what I keep forgetting to do every now and then. I think it was literally 2 portraits ago. Yeah. I remember getting an email from the client. Oh, it's arrived. It's beautiful. And I suddenly thought, wow, I forgot to scan that. Like, I don't have a digital of it. I was so upset.
Yeah. It's definitely become my routine now because I scan it and send the finished scan to the artwork for approval before I send it to them. It's now built into my routine that I can't physically forget because I need to show them what it looks like so they can approve it before I send it to them.
Yeah. So I do the scanning before packaging. And then because I send them photo updates, and then I do the scanning before packaging because then I can sit there, edit and all of that to make sure that it comes out all right. Or should I say colour match?
Yes, colour matching.
Within some weeks, I'm just, especially this last week, because obviously it's the end of the academic year for the kids. So they've got all their everything happening, sports days and like music concerts. So I think I've forgotten to do some of those little like for me bits, I guess. But also security, like if anything ever happened in future, like, I don't know, they damaged the portrait somehow, they could always just get a print from me again.
Also, just generally, I have some clients that want a print copy because they've bought it for somebody, and they'd also want a copy. So that's where that's a good time to have a scanned copy as well, because then you can just recreate prints. I've even had one client ask to have it like on a phone case, because then she wanted to have it on her phone basically. Or as greetings cards. I've had a few clients that wanted like 100 greetings cards with the portrait on, so that was quite fun to make.
Oh, that's nice.
They all require the digital copy, and the digital copy acts as your portfolio, doesn't it?
Exactly. This is why I started taking scans, is the fact that I can sort of just build that like database of all these portraits that I've done.
Yeah. Oh, we've come up on time now. It's gone so fast.
It has. I'm still like pottering away at this. I will finish this so I can send you an update.
Yeah, I'd love to see it finished. I think I've sort of finished mine. I don't think I like pastel matte with white fur.
Oh, really?
Like it does, like the white pencil, as you can see, goes over really nicely and creates lots of details. But I'm not able to like get that blend. I feel like it's not blending enough. It might just need more time, I think.
Possibly.
Because I know,
but also
I do know it takes a lot of blending, this paper.
But also good to know. Whenever my friends try new paper, I always bug them. So, what do you think of it?
Yeah. Give me all the deets.
Exactly. So interesting to know.
Yeah. Yes, that's what I think. I think white is harder than black so far, as my limited knowledge of pastel matte paper. Oh, well, it's been so lovely to chat with you, Beck.
Yes.
And I would love to do this again sometime.
Definitely. Especially if you're coming up with that African wildlife, I'll be there.
Yes. Oh, as soon as that's out, I will send you a link and then we can do it together. That'll just be so fun.
Yeah, perfect.
Because I've never drawn any African wildlife before, so that'll be a really fun thing to do with you.
Yes, we'll get you hooked on it. Why not?
Well, thank you so much, and thank you everybody for joining us. And if you would like to get this practice journal, it's available on Amazon or on learnmycraft.com, and you can follow along with these lives. You can watch this live back and all the others I've done on learnmycraft.com. Thank you so much, Beck, and have a wonderful day.
You too. Thank you, Sema.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
If you've enjoyed listening, remember you can watch this podcast with video and no ads at learnmycraft.com, where you'll also find animal art practice journals, books, and tutorials to get you started. Hit subscribe and follow the podcast, and we'll see you next time.